All right, here we go. Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Showtime TV. I'm your host, Omar Rashada. In honor of Black History Month, this is a continued series. And tonight, as authors and slash guest speakers, like spoken word artists and entrepreneurs, man, I got some big, heavy, woo, man, I got some famous major people here tonight. So we're going to get started. I got everyone, Coach D, Darrell Andrews. We have Freda Camille, Mak Hopkins, and Tanya Williamson. Everybody, good evening and welcome. Thank you for being a guest on tonight's program.
Thanks for having us.
Honored to be here.
Thank you.
All right. So let's get started. First, I just want everybody to just introduce themselves and just say what they do and then what was their first book. And then we'll get into the nitty gritty. So we'll start off with Mak Hopkins.
Yes.
Okay. My name is Mak Hopkins. I am a electronic technician by trade, and the book that I've written, it's called "What's Stopping You." And you see the backdrop there. Okay. What's Stopping You, and it's just a motivational book to keep people moving in the right direction.
Okay, awesome. All right, Freda.
So I'm author Freda Camille. I am a pediatric nurse, but I am also an author, motivational speaker, encourager, inspirer. The first book that I wrote is called The Storms Cause My Faith. It's an inspirational poetry book that was written after I lost my mother when I was 23 years old. She actually passed away on the day that I was having my housewarming party. That particular book was something that was able to get me through losing her. It was a way that I journaled, and the Lord spoke to me. Actually, each poem that I wrote in that particular book was something that was God inspired, and it was actually every poem was what was the premise that was able to allow me to actually deal with the loss of my mom. Oh. So I do have 6 other books that I've written since then.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you're doing the move. Okay, Tanya.
So my name is Tanya Williamson, and I love the fact, Omar, you call me Tanya. That's what my papas called me. No, you're good. And so thank you for having me on your show. I am a native of Delaware, right? And just to introduce myself, I could not go without acknowledging my amazing husband, Darrell Williamson. I am a serial entrepreneur, a global speaker, 2-time author, not 6-time author like Freda. I want to be like her when I grow up. I'm a PrEP certified relationship coach and business consultant, and I inspire individuals across the globe to get back up after experiencing hardship. And so the book today, specifically on this platform, our first book, Married to the Ring, Volume 1, consisted of 12 amazing contributing authors that share raw, riveting stories. But for the purpose of this forum today, my book that we're introducing is The Setback Fueled My Faith, which was released just 3 months prior to the pandemic.
Oh, wow. Okay. Coach D, you up next.
Yes, sir. Yes. I'm Darrell Andrews. Everybody, as you can see, knows me as Coach D. I've been a full-time consultant, trainer, and speaker for about 22 years now. My first book was one of the early stage Find Your Passion books, and it was actually entitled How to Find Your Passion and Make a Living at It. And it kind of just sputtered along with some recognition until Tavis Smiley got a hold of it back in his heyday and started talking about it. And then next thing you know, it exploded all over the country. And we've impacted a lot of lives with that book. But I've worked with corporations, businesses, organizations, schools, and school districts. We do, a variety of different types of, we do the speaking, but also the consulting projects. And I was telling you when we first got started on the show, I'm living the dream life right now. I get to wake up in the morning, impact the world from my seat. I don't have to get on the airplane. I don't have to deal with jet fuel. I don't have to deal with flight delays, snow issues. I motivate, and then I go help my daughter build snow. We go out and build a snowman during the snow days. It's the dream life right now. It really is. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, I want to start with, I want to stay with you, Coach D. I'm going to ask all of you, what inspires you to want to be a writer? Because I'm gonna tell you something, I'm a writer, I'm a playwright, and I wrote my first novel, Tears of Glory, the stories of our lives. And writing is not easy. Sometimes you get writer's block. I mean, you got to put time aside. You got to get an outline. It's a lot to take to write. And, I mean, many people may not realize that, but and some people, they just don't like writing. But, I mean, they may love reading, but they might not like writing. So I want to start off with Coach D and ask you, what motivated you to want to be an author or a novelist?
Well, you know what, I mentioned I've been doing what I've been doing for a long time, and that was actually spearheaded. I used to work for a company called Abbott Laboratories, a big medical diagnostics company.
Okay.
And at Abbott, they used to have this thing called the lending library, where you had tapes back in the day when they had tapes, and you would put them in your auto car and you pop them in and you listen to tapes. You know, now you got everything else. And I used to listen to people like Zig Ziglar and Les Brown, and as I was driving around doing my sales calls, and I noticed that they all were authors. You know, they just weren't speaker; they were author of. And so I was inspired by them. I mean, I noticed the impact that they were having on people's lives. I knew, even though at that time I was working in corporate, I wanted to ultimately do what these people were doing. And so I just went out and learned the process of doing it. And I'll say this without taking too much time, I was blessed to be able to interact with someone most of us probably would know is Dr. Miles Monroe. Yeah, Dr. Monroe, I actually flew to the Bahamas and spent 2 weeks with him. And it was that time with him that sparked the fact that it's time for me to write a book. He actually told me I should. And I came back, and that's when I wrote the book, How to Find Your Passion and Make a Living at It. So it's just being around great people, man. You know, great people begat great people, man. And I just so appreciative of those individuals that have sold into my life to help me be the man I am today. But it was really Dr. Monroe and Zig and all those people that inspired me to become a writer, because I just saw the impact that they had with their lives, and I wanted similar impact.
All right. Okay, Freda?
So for me, I just would have to say life experiences. I've been through a lot of different trials and tribulations, and through some of the trials and tribulations that I've experienced personally, such as sexual abuse, molestation, abandonment, different things like that, I lost my voice. And so instead of speaking, I had to write. And in me being able to write and journal, eventually God given me a word to say, like, this is what you're supposed to do. For me, thinking about being the passion behind wanting to write and share my story to be able to help other people, that is the reason why I became a writer. That is the reason why I became an author, because finding out that there are other people out there that have been through different situations that I've experienced, I've given my words on paper have given myself a voice. I found my voice through writing, and it also has given other people the ability to speak and be able to share their story through understanding that other people have experienced the same thing that I had.
Awesome. Okay, Mark?
Well, what kind of sparked me was, you know, all my life, actually, I've been motivating people. You know, it's just been in me to motivate. You know, being in the Marine Corps, you know, in school, at work, you know, I would always push people to move into, you know, a higher passion, move into something that they're wanting to move into. But then I looked at myself, you know, as far as motivating people. You know, it came a time in my life where I saw where, you know, I need to motivate, you know, myself as well. And I noticed, you know, as I was going through life, my life experiences, that I would see things that would hold me, would stop me from moving forward. Things that would stop me from moving into the destiny that I'm called to move into. And then as I looked around, I noticed the same thing with other people, and that's where the book came. You know, God placed in my heart, what's stopping you? What's stopping you? You know, what's that thing, you know, that whenever you're trying to pursue something, that thing rears its ugly head, it shows up in the situation And it's that thing that's always there that's stopping you from moving forward. And that just kind of set with me for years. And and then it came to the point where it was time to start writing. Right. And that's awesome. And that's where it came from.
Okay. All right, Tanya.
Yes, awesome, awesome. Well, this is a very interesting topic for me because I always journaled. I always journaled my thoughts. I always journaled my moments. I always journaled even my stinking thinking as I was going through the process of very tumultuous times in life. And I never saw myself as an author. So to become an author is amazing. But my journey began specifically, the setback fueled my faith. It's actually designed, it's targeted to help women who once earned a six-figure income discover that despite the loss, when you put God first, you can recover all and more. And I birthed the book because when we launched Married to the Ring, I had everyone else on my platform sharing their story, but I hadn't shared my story until I flew to Nigeria, Africa, Nigeria. A world leader said, Tanya, it's time now for you to share your story. But one thing I knew as a business owner is that my intellectual property is important. So before I told my story, I flew out to Atlanta and spent some time drafting and crafting and being a part of a group of individuals, or a leader out there who really inspired me to really do my own book outside of Married to the Ring Volume 1 book. And basically, just to give you a little bit of background, my book is so relevant for today. I was a little, I think I was more private and I didn't want to share my story, but I had this nudge in December of 2018. Tanya, you got to get your story told. And so the background of this book is I was climbing the corporate ladder in the financial industry. And I'd received, countless promotions and earned a six-figure income by the age of 30 without a college degree, being a single mother, being a college dropout, be defeating all the odds coming from divorced parents and climbing corporate ladder extremely fast. And as a result of a mirage of things over time, it was on my 31st birthday where I suddenly lost everything, almost like the Will Smith story. And as a direct result of that, going through a divorce, I began to share my story and the outcome of that story to share with everyone how I was able to overcome homelessness after being in a six-figure position, acquiring multiple degrees, and also being a serial entrepreneur. And I thought it was very important to share my story because I wanted to eliminate the stigma of for those individuals who have actually walked through my life experiences as if they cannot win. There used to be a traditional stigma from conservatives and different populations that if you are a part of this elite crowd, then the career path for you is destined for success. But my career path has been very unique, odd, and we've been able to master the storm outside of unconditional and untraditional norms. And I was able to successfully do that and navigate through that after I yielded to my relationship with the Holy Spirit and allow Him to heal me of every toxicity piece that I picked up over time and be able to move forward. And so I began to share this story, one, to be able to help someone else. Like I said, the book came out in November. We had the pandemic in March. Basically to share with someone to identify the root of your issue, how deception can create a ripple effect, how to forgive yourself, and how to embrace the journey towards your healing after you align your strategies with God's plan, and how to literally activate your faith in moments where others perceive that profit precedes favor. And I share how God's favor precedes profit any day. And so that's what my book is basically about. And it's here.
Wow, wow, that's awesome. I mean, you just mentioned something. I want to stay with you for a moment. You mentioned that you were homeless. Wow, I mean, homeless can cause trauma, low self-esteem, the depression, and you were able to overcome all that to be a successful entrepreneur, to be a successful writer. Do you credit that to God, or do you credit that to family support? I mean, how did you get from point A all the way up to point Z?
Absolutely. Well, my story is interesting because I beat the stigma there as well, because I went through a divorce, and the divorce here and the rules here in the state of Delaware is an equitable distribution state. And so as a direct result of that, because I was a six-figure earner over a 3-year period, I walked out of a marriage having to pay all of the debt, all of the responsibilities, and not be eligible for child support. And so with all of that on my shoulder and also losing a six-figure income, it led me into a homeless shelter, still trying to keep my children in private school. Back then, during that period, as you know, right now, 7% of African Americans make up a six-figure income earning. So just imagine during that period, it was less than 2%. And so there was really no one that I could default or fall back on. I didn't come from a family um, of my parents both have retired from their careers, have worked. My father, a military veteran, electrical engineer. My mother, a data entry clerk, claims clerk. My parents, I was too ashamed to share the struggle. And so I kind of walked through the process, and I was able to see what the social service system was like, the disadvantages, leverage it to be able to elevate myself during one of the most difficult moments in my life. And so I embraced the process while I was homeless, and I kind of transferred the skills in corporate after leading up to 300 individuals and staff. I transferred those skills into an environment where, for the first time, I learned community. It was in the shelter I learned community. It was in the shelter I actually learned how to work collectively together, because all of us had a need. And
Mhm.
so I was able to kind of look at life from a different perspective. And it's one of the most humbling experiences that I've ever encountered. And so that's why now, even in my successes across the globe, I'm still relatable, approachable, and very engaging to all individuals, regardless of their socioeconomic status.
That's awesome. And Frida, I want to ask you a similar question, because you mentioned earlier that you were sexually abused, and you went through some struggles growing up in life. And so how were you able to, which also causes trauma, depression, low self-esteem, and you know, I've known you for
Absolutely.
I've known you for quite some time. And I mean, you're always upbeat, doing your spoken word poetry, outgoing, and I would never imagine that you experienced those things. So how were you able to go from point A to point Z?
I just would have to say, absolutely, faith. Um, the storms cause my faith, and that title comes from just that. Every storm that I've been through in my life caused me to believe in God. You got to think, like, from very early on, I was sexually abused at the age of 6 or 7. The book that I just released in September of 2020 is called Open Wound. The Storms Cause My Faith is poetry book, and it's like me telling my story, and my story's hidden behind poetry, lyrically hidden behind the nice, eloquent, beautiful verses of the poetry. However, Open Wound, I finally come free, and I'm transparent of telling my story of how in the beginning of my life where I was sexually abused in the foster home, and I deal with the death of my mother, and I deal with being abandoned by my father when I was 13 years old, and how I had to deal with being a teenage mother. But through all of the adversities that I've dealt with, it's basically through those storms, through the adversity, everything that I've been through has always pushed me towards God instead of away from God. And that is why the first book that I've written is entitled The Storms Caused My Faith. And a lot of people have always questioned me about that. Like, why would you say the storms caused your faith? It's because every situation that I've been through, I just look and say, like, my life has to get better. Things have to transition to a place of beauty, a place of happiness, a place of joy, no matter how ugly it is right now. I know that God did not put me on this earth to just suffer. You know, they say that there are situations that you go through and it may not be for you. It may just be for you, for other people to see that God's glory does shine through your life. And I believe that. So my smile is for other people to see that God gets the glory out of my life, and they can see it through my testimony. Things have definitely gotten better. So I'm here, like, as Tanya said, she may not have had like that support system. I definitely did not have, you know, anyone to fall back on. When my dad abandoned me and I was living with my mother was diagnosed with schizophrenia for most of my life, and I was her caretaker, and working as a teenager, going to school and just making sure that her bills were taken care of, making sure that as a teenage mom that my daughter was taken care of. I just had to continue to keep fighting and being strong and making sure that things were done properly and in order.
Okay, that's awesome. You know, still you said something earlier. You know, as a writer, I'm kind of hesitant of sharing, you know, your personal life. Because sometimes people don't want their business out there. It's personal, you know. They may feel it's just not no one's business. So, Coach D and Mark, I'm not sure if you guys in your book shared personal experiences, but I'm just going to throw this question in the air. When you write about your own personal life, was there any hesitation in the beginning, or did you just say, you know what, I got this, I'm gonna go ahead and do this?
Well,
Anybody?
if I can chime in, I'll definitely say that I think when you start writing, you know, you're writing, but you're writing to other people. You know what I mean? It's like somebody's reading what you're putting on that paper.
Right.
So it's not necessarily for you, it's for that other person. And I think that if you project the image of perfection in writing, then if you come off as a little bit, this person is out of touch. You know what I mean? They're out of touch with the reality of what we're dealing with. So I've shared some personal trauma as well. In pretty much all of my books. I have 7 books now and finishing up one more right now as we speak. But no, I'll put them in there, man. And I'll be just, if I can say this from a man's perspective, for a lot of times with men, you know, it's that whole thing of the image. What do you want people thinking about you? And so men kind of become hesitant to share things, you know what I mean? And they don't want to put it out. I don't want anybody saying that, maybe, but I think that that when you say, you know what, forget all of that, I got to put it out there anyway, and you start writing, and then you start getting feedback from people how that blessed you, how it, you know, I saw myself in that situation, and you know what you said liberated me, helped me, things like that. You realize I'm obligated. So for me, I pretty much all of my books have stories of trauma, challenge, having to overcome this, overcome that, you know, abuse as well, similar situations with abuse. And but I'll say this if I can as well, you know, not to try to flip the script on it, but the reality is that when people like who have been through things, and you know, it seems like most of us here are Christians and believers, and once God comes into your life and enters into your heart, that you start to realize that old saying, that test becomes a testimony. And you start to realize that you got to share that testimony, you know, how God blessed you in the midst of all of this. And so no, man, I don't, you know, even as a speaker, you know, I stand on stages in front of, you know, small groups and very large groups. And I share stories, and sometimes you can see people crying when you're sharing them, because
That's right.
yeah, they can, because a lot of times they're not necessarily crying about what happened to you. It's probably like what happened to them that you're opening up when you're sharing it. So I think those of us who have been blessed, and I do call it blessed, with the ability to impact people through our written words and our spoken words, have an obligation to be candid. To some extent. I really believe that we should.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anybody else can go if you want.
Well, I think the transparency is essential in order for others to identify or relate to what it is. I think, and that's why being approachable is so important, regardless of your title, your status, your position. I think Coach Darrell said it nicely. Coach Darrell, I have this belief, and maybe because my dad's from the military, is that where there's adversity, there's opportunity. So I believe that if it came to my door, there's only a few things on the reason why it came to my door. One is because I have the ability to articulate the problem and drive change. Or two, there's something on the inside of me that needs to clean up and allow me to learn a valuable lesson. And so those around me, like I love watching my mother see something in me that maybe she never could release out of herself. But now that I've opened my mouth, like she'll kick it off. I'm like, wow, you 70 years old. You ain't telling me about that, Mom. And she was just like, well, I listened to you. So this is what, and we're seeing the vertical healing, up, we're seeing the lateral healing. And then we're watching our children. I have grandchildren and 5 adult children. We're watching them become healed and saying, look, there's no more cycles. The cyclical effect, it ends here. The cycle stops.
That's it. That's
and
good.
That's a blessing in itself, because even for myself, when as in Release an Open Wound, there was a lot of things that I had to first heal from in writing that. It took me 9 years to write the book. The book is not 500,000 pages. It's like a 60-page book with a journal at the end, just because it's so heavy in what I talk about and the things that I've been through. However, it also was heavy in allowing my daughter to read what it was that I've been through, because there was words and situations and circumstances that I was not able to even verbalize to her or anyone else. And I had to heal first. Then it was like, take the manuscript, allow her to look at it and read it, but she has to read that in her own time. And I did a private reading for just a certain amount of people, but it still was like a healing therapeutic situation and environment for the two of us. So it's like allowing generations to heal, but starting with myself, with my daughter, and then those that are around us that were in this situation or just like attached to the situation. So I can connect to you with that, that what you said, Tanya, when you talk about your mom. But then there is another situation where there's things that I've experienced that neither one of my parents have any idea about, but they'll never know because they're deceased. So that is another piece in me that I have to just deal with, that healing that I have to release and let it go with God. So, when you're writing and you're letting certain things go and you're healing, you're watching people around you heal, but you definitely have to allow yourself to heal first.
Yes.
With my book, I kind of went in a different direction. Mine is, one, I wanted it to be a book to where anyone can just pick it up and start reading. Right. People that don't like to read, people that want to read, they can pick up this book, and the easy read that it is, they can just pick it up and understand it, and it takes them from point A to point Z quickly. I just talked briefly about different areas in my life, talked about the military, focus, talked about, navigational skills, when things that we need to do when you're looking at your goal. What's the first thing that you need? Who are you? That's the first chapter of my book. Who are you? You need to know who you are in order to go where you, to know where you want to go. Who are you? When you know who you are, what kind of character do you have? Are you a person of good character? Are you a person of good standards? Are you a person that is not swayed to the left or swayed to the right? There's times in my history where working for a company, and this was a billion-dollar industry, working for a company, multi-billion-dollar company, and one of the I was new on the job actually, and one of the my coworkers told me to write down certain extra hours that I didn't work. Now I had a problem with that. And I said, okay, well, no, I didn't do it. I didn't, mention it to him. Basically, I didn't put any overtime down. Now, my thing is, are you going to are you going to live with good character? Are you going to do the things that are right? Or are you going to do the things that are wrong? We have to build our character. And that's basically what this book is talking about, building yourself, going for your goals. Don't let nothing stop you. Things are going to come our way. But on the other side, when we get through, it's always easier. It's always easier when we go through the pain, when we go through the harshness of growth, the harshness of learning, and fear, how fear is the first thing that stops us from moving in a direction that we want to go. A lot of times we're fearing things that's not even adequate. And you get through it and say, why was I fearing that?
Well, you mentioned, you mentioned fear. I want to ask, it appears to me that majority of you on the panel, your writings are like kind of self-help books to help people with their career paths, families, et cetera, et cetera. Just, I guess, through your research or through your writings, what would you say are some of the things that hold people back from fulfilling their dreams and aspirations in life? I mean, is it fear, as Mark said? Is it low self-esteem? Anybody can go take that question.
I think we all can jump on that one, but
Coach, take that, Coach.
I'm going to say this, but I'm going to get in a lot of trouble when I say this, but I want you to hear me clearly. It's other people.
Yeah.
I was listening to what he was saying, Mark was saying about who are you? Most people don't know who they are.
No, they don't.
Most folks have no idea who they are because they've been shaped by somebody else, somebody else's words, somebody else's perception of them. And I'm not talking about adults, I'm talking about kids. Like you go from this childhood, then you become an adult, and then you start asking the question, who am I?
Because you still hear it. You hear that.
Those messages are still rolling through your head.
Yeah.
And so, I with a lot of times, Omar, how I'm about parenting. I'm a father first, and I got 4 beautiful children. But we sometimes plant these incorrect seeds in our children, and then they grow up confused and challenged with life and challenged with their abilities and things like that. And it may not be us, but it can even be other people that they've associated with or friends or whatever. So I'm joking, but I'm serious, other people. And what we got to do is remove the perception and the paradigms other people have of us and look at, as a believer, what God says about us. Like what, you know what I mean? That's, I'm trying to preach, but you're the head and not the tail, above only and not beneath, that you're more than a conqueror through Christ Jesus. Like, and you got to own that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, when I first wrote my first book, everybody like, man, you wrote a book. You from the Pioneer Homes Project in Syracuse. Ain't nobody gonna read your book, you know, and all those messages, people, because you know, when you try to pursue, then you got folks just grabbing you at the ankles trying to pull you back. And so you gotta first know who you are, not what people have said about you, but who you really are. And I'm gonna tell you something. When I found out who I really was, I became a dangerous brother.
Armed and dangerous.
I became dangerous. But now you can't stop me now. Now I know what I was born for, you know, and you get a lot of negativity, you know, from people and all that, but it don't even matter anymore. Now, when I was younger, it did. And when I was trying to break through, it did. But once I broke through, it was over. I'm write what I want to write, do what I want to do. So I'm just saying, other people, don't let other people stop you. And if you got the words rolling in your head from other people, deal with them things, because all they're trying to do is anchor you and steal your ability to give that gift that you have inside of you to society.
Hey, Coach T.
Yeah.
And so some of other people could be family members.
Absolutely.
Don't say that, man, because that's another 20 minutes.
Absolutely.
I'll let somebody else handle that one, because I'll take over the show with that one.
Absolutely. I'm just gonna say that's the truth.
Yeah.
Because some people don't expect you to be doing what you're doing. And then people silently can be in competition with you.
Yes.
You just don't even understand it, and you don't know. So that's all I'm gonna say. And fear, when he talked about fear, when Mark talked about fear, sometimes you're afraid of your own abilities of being great. God already said that you're great. So sometimes you're afraid to step into that greatness because you're afraid of success. And I mean, I've been there even myself.
Well, excuse me, you know, this is right down my alley, because this is why we birthed our organization, you know.
So
because, you know, one of the things that I always was, I wasn't challenged, but others were challenged by me. And I had to live in a world, and my father, like, I was a daddy's girl. Like it just, my daddy just was like my idol until I learned Christ for myself, right? So it was easy for me to love Christ because my dad nurtured. He gave me the key fundamentals of every first point of my life, right? So the crazy part about this is I thought that was normal, but I recognized that I was the minority of what normalcy looks like with individuals who have an absentee father. I didn't learn that people had absentee fathers until I arrived to college. It blew my mind, because that was normal for me, but it was abnormal. So having to navigate in life, because I was allowed to use my imagination at 3 and 5, being able to do that, and others saying, you know, she's too expressive. No, I'm not. I'm not difficult. I'm articulating, and I never allow people to shut me down. Now, as an adult, when we go back to that question, the challenge that you face is, what I learned is, if you are grounded, since this is faith-based, right? It's a difference between memorizing the word. When you know the word and you can exercise the word and use it in its rightful authority, because you understand its application, honestly, warfare means nothing to me. It's like a second-handed nature, because we are to be able to be barrier breakers. So when I received just recently, like, getting our national minority supplier diversity, you know, certificate across to do suppliers with corporations as a minority owned business that's not even 4 years old yet, and getting our state certificate. Yes, eyebrows went up all throughout, you know, but the bottom line is, we can't subject ourselves to the culture that cannot accept us breaking barriers. We are change agents. And so I got a cohort right now. I'm running with singles. I teach women and men relationship intelligence tools. The African American community, you know, we talk about going to the corner praying, but the how to is important. So we have a framework that teaches individuals how to go back to the root of what it is that violated your ability to identify who you are. Because you're running around and you don't even know your overarching purpose, right? And so you're all over it's like category.
Yeah.
And so it's like I'm like, gosh. And then what I have to deal with is people getting upset because I know my purpose and I won't sign up for their category, So you have to be able to take, the ins and outs, because you're the minority when you really know who you are. Like, you are really the minority. You're not a minority because of the color of your skin.
Yeah.
You're a minority because you know who you are. And so this is a common factor that I see across the board. And one thing I don't do is I don't allow individuals to idolize nor emulate me, because I want to see them succeed to become greater than me or great in their purpose. So as long as we teach individuals that, Omar, listen, that's a whole topic right there. Coach ain't never said it. Most people are influenced by exterior factors outside of them, and they default back into the environment because they're limited to exposure. Diversity is so important, but it's all contingent on your ability to go outside of your comfort zone and learn and embrace different cultures, different races, and traveling. And so Coach, like you said, he got Miles Monroe. My husband's upstairs listening to him right now, Apostle Price, and then traveling and seeing those other pieces, it brings a totally different perspective. Some people won't leave out their neighborhood.
Yeah,
right.
it helps you to realize who you are. You know what I mean? You find yourself in that synergistic environment, and that's important. As we talk about what we do here, trying to inspire you got to have the synergy. You may have 50,000 people around you who don't believe in you. All you need is 2 or 3 that do.
Absolutely.
Run with them. You don't have to run. Other folks just can watch.
Let them watch. They're spectators. And don't chime into them. Never lose your fix. Because let me tell you something. You all are faith believers. Numbers 23:19 says, God is not a man that he should lie. Neither a son of man. If he told you you can do it, you can do it.
You can do it.
Right. Also this once again, the topic is authors/speakers. Well, just about all of you in some form or fashion of public speaking. I know, Mark, you say you do public speaking. Coach D, you're an excellent public speaker. Tanya, you're an excellent public speaker. And for a lot of people, public speaking is so difficult. I had people who were nervous about just being a guest on my TV show because they're afraid of the cameras. And you guys, you go and speak in front of thousands of people, host different programs. So I want to ask you guys who do public speaking, and Freda, you do spoken word in front of crowds of people. Were you ever nervous about public speaking? And if so, what got you from being nervous to being so confident that you can speak in front of thousands and thousands of people? Coach D, you travel across the world, and Tanya, I believe you as well. So at what point in your life did you say, I want to be a public speaker? And then were you ever nervous? And then how did you overcome that nervous?
I'm gonna just go first. Can I go first?
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna go first because I'm nervous every time. I'm nervous before the camera. I was nervous about tonight. I'm nervous standing at church. I'm nervous at work because there's times where it doesn't matter how big the crowd is. It could be hundreds of people. It could be 5 people. It could be 20 people. I'm always nervous because what I don't want to do is misuse the gift that God has given me, period, point blank. I could be at work and it could be, I know that when the Holy Spirit is rising up and I know that God has a word for me to say, my nerves are just there. But I know that if I have been sent to do a job or give a word or speak, I'm just supposed to show up and do what God has called me to do. That's just my take on it. Now, the rest of you people nationally across the world, I haven't done that yet. I'm going to say yes, but that is me. I'm always nervous, and that is it. And that's
yeah. I think preparation is key. I think your level of preparedness. I've studied worldviews, different territories, cultures. When you get into those cultures, I do a lot of meditating in the Word. I spend a lot of different time. I mean, I'm a firm believer. Like I know people are like, you was like, oh, I didn't know you was a reverend. No, I'm not a reverend. I just, like the faith-based side of me will come out every now and then, right? I mean, publicly, and I think one of the things is I really chime into the spiritual realm in order to allow God to really take full reign of me when I like the stage is that's where I flow. What's most difficult for me is this virtual stuff. Like, yo, so guess what I did this year, Omar? I registered for Toastmasters. Come on, help me with this thing on the virtual because there's different methods, different pieces, different icebreakers. We have to. I don't know about Coach Darrell, but I'm a hands-on person. Like I like to move. I like to really feel the room and feel the vibe in my room. Well, you can't do that in a virtual. So I'm going through a series of training right now because they're preparing me for some virtuals across as we export our services to England. And I'm just like, you guys got to get me together because I'm a nervous wreck with this virtual stuff. But I think it's all about you being prepared, knowing you got to study your craft. You got to know your craft and you got to get in the room with people. And if you have deficiencies, anything like, I deal with individuals like one of my professors has a speech impediment or whatever. But let me tell you, when he gets on that podcast or something with me, he's a beast. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, and so it's just, I just think you got to study, you got to pace yourself, you got to know your audience. And yes, you do get nervous depending upon, wherever it is, depending on where you are, especially if you're in different environments. But you got to be yourself. That's all I got to say. You got to authentically be you. Don't be anyone else.
I would say one of my early stage mentors was a guy named Keith Harrell. And Keith, unfortunately, we lost him at a young age. And he wrote a book entitled Attitude is Everything. I mean, this guy traveled all over the world. I mean, he was probably one of the most in-demand speakers I've ever met. I've never seen a person that speak as much as this guy. And so he and I used to have a lot of phone calls. And I'll tell you, a lot of what I do today and a lot of what I've been able to do was really learning from people and gleaning, you know what I mean?
Right.
And gaining some insight. But Keith used to always say that, nervousness is just a byproduct of the fact that you really want to do well. He said it's not that you're not qualified. It's just that in your mind you're saying, I really want to deliver this in a way that's going to be make a difference. So don't, I've never frowned on that. I tell people that there's nothing wrong with being nervous. The thing is, as Tanya had mentioned, when you step on the stage, you just got to deliver. You just got to get up there because those people are expecting you to. They're coming there too. And this is the thing I realized too, and the thing that's helped me is they're rooting you on. They want you to do well. You know what I mean? Like they're not sitting there thinking, boy, I can't wait till he messes up. Boy, I'm sitting there like, boy, just come on. I know that mess up is in you somewhere. They want to walk away and say, that was amazing. So it's almost like if you're speaking to 10 people, or if you're speaking to 10,000, you got 10,000 fans out there that's rooting you on. And so for me to stand on that stage, I realized these folks want me to do well. So it gives me a sense of looseness. When I get up there, I'm ready. It's like, yeah, I'm ready to go. I just, like in Tanya virtually, I'm killing it virtually because my primary reason why is what I've done. This is just a little tip from my experience, because I've done keynotes, thousands of people virtually. And I did one for the U.S. Department of Education, 4,000 people. But only people I could see were the people in the green room. And the way what I do is I have a stand, so I'm standing up. I don't sit down doing keynotes. So I'm standing up and I'm looking to the camera, and we nailed that thing. We killed it. Hours straight, killed it. And then the director she said, you just gave the most incredible speech to people through a camera. And this is what I said to her, Tanya. I said, no, honey, I was on stage in front of 4,000 people.
But thank you, coach, because guess what? My husband said, I think I got to go get you a high step podium.
Yeah, stand up.
Because it doesn't like sitting down. Like, I don't feel like I own this floor right for a second. So thank you. That we going to do that.
What I'm saying is that, going back to the original thing, Omar, it comes with confidence. It comes with preparation. It comes with a lot of different things, man. But just know in your mind, knowing you got something to deliver.
Yeah.
And the people want to hear it, but yeah, virtually stand up. And when you doing keynotes, I do workshops sitting down because it's too long. But
yeah,
speeches, stand up and deliver. That's for Tanya.
well, he just said it.
One thing I can say. One thing I can say is, I haven't spoke as much as sound like you guys do a lot of speaking. I am a pastor. I do more of preaching. And I have spoke to men's groups. But one thing I'm finding out, and I'm actually gleaning from you guys as well. But one thing I'm finding out is it's kind of like when I used to box back when I was young. There was a time where, when I got in the ring, there was butterflies, and I was anticipating boxing. And there was a fear, a little slight fear, and there was butterflies in my stomach. But then once the first punch was thrown, all that fear went out the window.
Mm-hmm.
Gone. And it's kind of like speaking with me. Like you said, preparation is key. When I write, I write and I get prepared. It's funny because I may have something a lot written down, but when I say the first words, I may not even look at what I wrote down for the rest of the speech.
Yeah.
So I'm going saying something totally different that wasn't even, I'll still be in the same area, but I don't need it at that point.
Yeah. So that's an anointing God placed on you, my friend.
Yeah.
Amen.
Right. So Tanya, I don't know if you still got to leave or not, but I'm gonna throw this question for you and then Coach D in particular, because you two have took your trade, your talents and your skills and abilities into a full-time job, whereas you're not working for anyone else, you're working for yourself. So talk about the experience of being an entrepreneur, having your own business and doing what, matter of fact, you two probably don't look at it as a job, you probably look at it as fun because you enjoy it so much.
Well, Coach, do you mind because I do have to speak on another platform. What's interesting about this is, when you're functioning in your passion, you're okay with the losses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just like, okay, I'm gonna get back up, you get blows. If you can't handle the blows, it requires a special talent to be an entrepreneur, 100%. But leading in corporate, I knew that I wanted to at some point lead outside of corporate America. And that's why I built a corporate model in my company where we could do corporations, government, so I could still feel the other passions of what I might miss from corporate America. But I can honestly say that being an entrepreneur has stretched my faith beyond words. Like, I get the chance to use the creative juices that God really talks about in the book of Genesis. Like, like real life, because you have to fill so many shoes. And although you delegate, you just got to make sure you got a strong, what we call, it's not board of directors like a nonprofit. You just got to make sure you got a strong network around you, that you all got each other's arms. And so people used to get upset because none of my contractors are in the state of Delaware, none of them, right? Because of my level of diversity and making sure that I have the right talent. However, some of them are now, depending upon where people are. But I think the most important part is you'll love it, but you got to be prepared for the losses. Because not every dollar is good money. You gotta, like, you can't just be like naive, I'm gonna do this. And you have to make sure, because it's a liability. Anything that's a liability to your brand, to your purpose, you gotta eliminate. And some people don't know how to do that, but you have to just be very careful. You gotta let God navigate you through the process for any business that you own, if you have a relationship with him. So because you have people's lives are dependent on you. and it's just a matter of you staying focused. I'm very big on planning, strategic planning, implementation, watching those dollars, watching my net worth, meaning my network, who's in it, how they're in it. I just made another change and announcement. It might sound crazy to some, but we had to tell people, based upon the status of our brand and our company, you can't DM us. You got to go through formal processes, and you got to go through so we can make sure everyone's treated consistent. We're a company, and sometimes people will become too familiar with you. They don't understand that. You lose friends in the journey. The higher you go, it's like you're on an island all by yourself until you're able to connect to someone who's at your level. You don't want to lose them, but they don't understand it. They don't get it. You go through a lot. Family is placed into their compartments. It's real. So hopefully that helps.
Okay, Tanya. So before you leave, people are watching. How can they contact you? How can they get the book?
Yeah. So for the Setback Fuel My Faith, you can go to marriedtothering.com/shop. We do have it in ebook. It's also available on Amazon, Kindle. It's available, in paperback. For Married to the Ring, we're on all social channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, but it's marriedtothering.com. Just follow us. You can book us for a consultation. We got workshops, all kinds of things that's going on in our organization. We have a free Facebook community called the Relationship Lab, where we just drop freebies, resources, and information, especially in the midst of the pandemic. Omar, I want to thank you. I appreciate you for connecting and asking me. It is an honor to be on your show. Thank you for all that you're doing in the community. And it's a pleasure to meet each and every last one of you all. Freda and I went to school together.
We sure did.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So, Pastor,
back.
Pastor, I look forward to possibly connecting, as we'll be in Chicago in fourth quarter. But God bless you all. And Coach, I can't wait to learn from you, man. I just told you, put you in the boxing ring at Married to the Ring.
Let's make the connection. I look forward to it.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a great one.
Thanks, Tanya. Take care, Tanya.
Thank you.
Okay, Coach D. So you're an entrepreneur. You've been doing this for quite some time. I remember you said I remember you told me in church one day that you haven't worked, and I forgot how long, was it 10 years, 15, 20 years? I can't remember, but you got your own thing going.
Yeah, I got that quote, Omar. There's a coach, used to be the coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. His name was Larry. What was Larry's last name?
Larry Brown.
Larry Brown, the coach of when Iverson was there. Yeah.
Right.
And so he had just signed a new contract. It was a 5-year, $25 million contract. And he was being interviewed. He was like kind of walking, and the guy was trying to interview him. And he walked up to him and said, "Larry, hey, kind of catching me. What does it feel like to know you're going to be working for another 5 years?" And he looked back at the guy before he got into his car and said, "Work another 5 years?" He said, "Young man, I haven't worked in 25 years." And what he's trying to say, he loves coaching. You know what I mean? That's his passion, working. And so it's not an assault on work. Work is a good thing. It's good to have a job. It's good to have a 401k. It's good to have, benefits. It's good to have all the benefits of a job. I'm not one of those entrepreneurs that job bash. I think employment is fantastic. Right. But for those of us that are wired for entrepreneurism, I always tell people, you have to be wired for it. It's not for everyone. You know what I mean? It really isn't. It takes a level of discipline. It takes a level of daily focus. It takes a level of understanding that you are a business. Like the hardest thing I get with Omar, with people, is to tell them, me as Darrell Coach D. Andrews, but I'm Darrell Andrews LLC and Associates. My company is not Darrell Andrews Coach D. And I said, now I'm part of the brand of the company, but I have myself, I have associates, I have different, people working with and things like that. So it's really important as a business person, that you are a business. Like a lot of times people look at who may be talented and gifted from an oratory perspective. It's about them. And I know they see Les Brown and people like that. But today, I can't speak back to when Les and Zig and those guys, but today people are looking for expertise. You know what I mean? And they're looking for like a stability in operations, that you're a legitimate business, especially if they're gonna give you big contracts, you know. So being a business owner is really the goal. Being self-employed is nice, but the goal is being a business owner, that you're a part of the business and what you own. So for me, my company is Darrell Andrews LLC and Associates. Coach D is a brand within that company. Right. You know what I mean? But I'm not the only piece to it. And so you got to run your company like a company. You need to have a bookkeeper. You need to have an accountant. You know, you need to have a lawyer. You need to write a business plan. You know, you need to, you know, have your financials in order. And the reason why I'm saying all that is because I've seen a lot of people come and go in my 2 decades of this work. And 90% of them, the reason why is because they're not organized. They don't have systems in place. They're not disciplined. They're not networking right. They don't know how to, you know, sustain sales cycles and marketing cycles and all these, you know. So when I talk about business and entrepreneurism, I'm talking about it from a pretty high level, legitimately running a business, not I got the skill and ability, let me play around with it. You know, you got to see this as a daily operations with systems and strategies. And once you do that, then you're no different than the other businesses out here that's trying to, you know, build and prosper and things like that. And we've done well over the years. I mean, I'm excited about where we are as a business. Very excited.
You know, one of the things about writing a book is the book signings. You got people, you're sitting at the table, you're signing autographs, you got people shaking your hand, you got some people who read the book telling you how great the book was. Have any of you had book signings? And if so, what was the experience like?
I have not had any book signings yet. I am planning on it.
Okay. Okay, Freda?
Yeah, I've had several, starting from my first book was written and released in January 2005. So I've had several book signings. They're very fun, and it's a good experience of meeting a lot of people. I've done them in the tri-state area. I've actually had more recently during the pandemic with Open Wound. We had a private book signing where it was just 12 people. It was an event where I did it like a private reading. We had food and that kind of thing. Just a really good experience of reading the book, different excerpts from the book, and, you know, just having people have questions. They pre-purchased the books and people came with their questions, and we just discussed the book and that kind of thing. So it was a really good experience. I've done like some sit downs, workshops in Philadelphia and different places previous years. I did like Hockessin Library. We did some book fairs and different things like that. And at Mesia Books, I usually do a book signing at Mesia Books with Miss M every year, like once a year or twice a year in Claymont or at her Chester location.
Okay, great.
So it's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of different people. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've you know, I just I can't, you know, I don't like, because it's like a, you know, I just been doing this so long. I've had countless book signings, you know,
Yeah.
Literally all over the country. What I love about them is the personalization. You get a chance to hug folks, take pictures with people, talk to folks. For people, you know, you gotta tell people you only have so much time. So because they would try to spend like an hour talking to you, like, okay, do you see the line? You know, and but I love the personalization part. And I just, you know, the ability to just impact lives beyond that stage. Like sometimes it's a speech that goes to a book signing, and now you're there interacting with the individuals. But I got to tell you a story. One of the longest book signings I ever had is I'm in the book Chicken Soup for the African American Soul. My story, 5 Garbage Bags and the Dream, is in that book. And Lisa Nichols, the author, had us all come out to California. She, you know, she partnered with Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield and all them. So we went to California, and Fred Price's church invited us to come and share about the book. So Lisa spoke, and we were there's several of the authors that were there, the contributors. And man, I think we signed like 3,000 books, man.
Wow.
I'm telling you right now, man.
Yeah, it must be hurting, bro.
I was done, man. I was done. I said, it's beautiful to get Fred behind you, but you're going to spend like 9 hours signing books. But it was a great experience. I got to meet some people. He stood out there with us for a long, long time. We just lost him, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But he's actually stood there for like 3 or 4 hours, just talking to people and interacting with us. And it was quite an experience. So it's a beautiful thing, man. It's just, this is about changing lives. And, we get to do it out. We get a chance to do it a lot. And it's a blessing. It really is.
Right. Okay, Coach, I want to stay with you because I know we talked about family earlier in the show. And do you have a program that you have for parents? You want to talk about that?
Yeah, man. I have several books. And one of the books is entitled The Parent is Coach, Developing a Family Dream Team. And I wrote that book really as a byproduct of one, I've had a chance to interact with a lot of young people all over the country. And a lot of time, the hurt and pain that your children feel comes from home. They just don't have that kind of relationship that they would really want with their parents. But also because when my wife and I married 27 years ago, I said, I want to really raise our children on their gifts, talents, and abilities. I want to see what God has placed in them, and let's get behind that. But then I realized that, you need a team. It's like a sports team. A head coach can't do it by himself or herself. They need people to help them. So I wrote that book realizing you need to build a dream team, and the dream team could be aunts, uncles, coaches, family members, whatever, who are, and again, it don't have to be a lot of people who, basically are like your assistant coaches. And so as a parent, you got the strategy for your family, but these assistant coaches are there helping out and, inspiring your kids and giving your kids a sense of direction. Like I created this thing called Dads United with biblical based character, and several dads and we've been getting together for the last 10 years, with our kids every month. And there's like a host dad, and we would talk about biblical based character, but then we talk about general character and financial management and things like that. So I'm saying all that to say, man, that's one of the books I love. Of all the books I've written, I love the most because, man, this parenting thing is serious business.
It is.
It's serious business. And I mentioned to you, and thank you for allowing me to talk about this. I'm honored, in particular as a man of color and a father of color, that the state of Delaware's Department of Education has partnered with us to create where we have monthly parent motivation and empowerment workshops in Sussex County, in Newcastle County, and in Kent County, once a month for 1.5 hours virtually. And so we are sharing once a month powerful information here in the state of Delaware with parents on raising champion children, literally. I mean, raising champion children. And I'm honored to be able to do this. I mean, this is not something you often see, let's be real, us doing.
That's awesome.
Us in particular being a Black father. And so we had our first series of events last month, and it was well attended, man. And we have another series coming next week, the 23rd, the 24th, and the 25th. So if anybody's interested in that, just go to my Facebook page, Darrell Coach D Andrews. Again, Darrell Coach D Andrews on Facebook, and all the information is there on a sheet with the links to go register, depending on your county. It doesn't even matter what county you're in. You can, if you're in Kent, you can go to the Sussex one. It doesn't matter. But man, I'm serious. One of my missions in life is to really empower parents to raise champion children. We have the power and ability to raise kids that can be, man, fantastic. I mean, not that they got to all go out and shake up the world, but truly can maximize their potential. And I've been committed to that for a lot of years. So I'm honored that the state is allowing me to do this. And the response has been really good. And that book was a featured book for I think it was about 8 years ago for the National PTA. I was the first non-celebrity African-American male to get a keynote for the National PTA. And that book exploded and lives were changed significantly. So I'm honored that we're now able to do it here in Delaware, man. Thanks for giving me a chance to share that. But if anybody's interested in those workshops, go to my Facebook page, Darrell Coach D Andrews, and look at the information there. It'll tell you everything. We have sheets on that page. You can see what's going on with these workshops. So that's one of many books. I have a book, Believe in the Hype, 7 Keys to Motivating Students of Color. I have How to Find Your Passion and Make a Living at It, Reinvention, The Pathway to Job Search Success. And my latest book is Equity is Not a Head Issue, It's a Heart Issue. because everybody, looking at this diversity and inclusion thing, and we're going the wrong way about this. You can't train diversity away to people. If a person's not ready to receive it, you can't train them to shift their thinking. It has to be a heart issue. And if that heart doesn't change, then we can train all day long. You see? So yeah, my books are all on subjects that are near and dear to me. And many times subjects we train, we teach and we inspire people to. So yeah. So thanks for letting me share that, man. I appreciate it.
No problem. No problem. I want to say,
Now,
go ahead, Mark.
All your books on Amazon?
Yes. All on
I was just wondering, was all his books on Amazon? You get them all there on Amazon?
Yes. All my books are on Amazon. All of them. Only one that's not there is the last one because it's not completed yet. I'm finishing that book. Equity is not a head issue, it's a heart issue. That'll be out in mid-April. And yeah, so yeah.
Okay. I want to stick with family for a moment, because when I wrote my novel, the family support was phenomenal. They bought the book. They came out to the book signings. Coach Steve, I look at your family. You have a wife. You have two boys, two girls, and they're all very successful. Your girls at a high prestige college. So I think your son got accepted to the military, and then your oldest son graduated last year with a graphic arts degree.
Yeah.
Freda, your brothers Fred and Forrest, y'all three are like real tight. When I see y'all community events, y'all are right there together.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you three, just for a moment. You don't have to elaborate too long on it. I'm gonna start with Mark. Talk about the importance of families supporting your journey in terms of being an author.
You said start.
Well, I think it's it's very important. The thing is, a lot of, like the sister was saying earlier, sometimes people don't want to support you, when you're, doing, certain things, I call it I call it the mirror effect. I've always called it the mirror effect. Sometimes people don't want to support because you're doing something that they're not doing, or when you come around, sometimes people got to straighten up, and sometimes people don't want to straighten up, or you doing some things that they should be doing. I think it's important for family to support. All families not going to support. Mm-hmm. All families not going to be there. I've came to realize that. I've come to realize that sometimes we have to go along. It's just like what God, the word. It's just like God. God, He wants all of us to go to heaven. Everybody's not going. Everybody's not going to go. As much as He want everybody to go, everybody's not going, and everybody's not going to support. And just like the brother said, if you got 2 or 3 people that support you, that's go with those people.
Okay, Freda.
So this is like big for me. You know that, like my brothers and I, we try to stick with each other and try to support each other's endeavors, no matter what it is. Back in the day, my brothers were the rappers, the rapper and the DJ, and I was like the fan club president, and I made sure that I supported them. I sold their albums at the high school. I wore their jackets. I sold the tapes, and I was at every club, party. I was too young to get in, but because they were the ones that were, doing their thing, I supported them. And then as time went on, I became the poet, the author, and it was their turn to support their little sister. And it's really important, we are all we have. Again, as I said earlier, our parents are deceased, and we have to support one another. We have to, like my brother Forrest, he's like one of my biggest supporters. He always, like when I had writer's block, as you mentioned earlier, and when I had the Storms Cause My Faith, and I was in the process of I had probably had 2 other manuscripts, but I didn't release those books. my brother Forrest went and he put me on Facebook, and I remember I went on the internet and I was like, I don't want to be on the internet. I don't want people seeing me and doing all of this. I went on there and he had put me on Facebook. He was promoting my books everywhere as if it was just coming out. And Fred, you know, he has his skill set. So they make sure that they use the skills that they have to make sure that their sister is out there. And even for me now, like I also have been working with other authors and coaching them through the self-publishing process and stuff. And even for my daughter, she's releasing a children's book soon. So, in which it may be something that Coach D might be interested in when surrounded around families. So that's something that I would love to connect with you with. But it's really important when you do have your family's support, even if it's not the entire family, but if it's 1, 2, or 3 people that you know that you can depend on, that's going to be there to help carry your books into the book signing, or that's going to be there at the table ushering people over at the book signing, or that's going to just push your books, you know, promote the book, put a post up, no matter what it is, but just knowing that they're there, they're helping you, they're getting the word out. It makes you feel, you know, like you're important and that you're supported, and that matters. Now, I appreciate my brothers for everything that they have done in this journey of me becoming an author.
Right. Coach D, you got a real close-knit family, man. Y'all stick together.
Yeah. Well, let me share 2 sides of this, if I can, Omar, because the side that folks know, they know my children. It's, you know, with my daughter, you know, just being interviewed on Kelly Clarkson's show, and with the orphans in Kenya, and my son, you know, and it's well known what my wife has done as far as helping my kids winning scholarships. My family has never paid a dime for college. You know, my wife has helped our children win hundreds of thousands of dollars in scholarships because she's focused in on that. And so our children have really been blessed like that in that sense. You know, it's nice to be able to give them that gift. But we've also raised them to find their purpose in life and really get behind it. A lot of times parents say you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be a scientist, and that's what we want you to do. But we found out a long time ago that, you know, they're basically arrows, and, you know, we just basically are there to help direct and guide and be stewards over their lives. So we're blessed, man. My son was just accepted at Virginia Military Academy and the Citadel, and he wants to go to military college, and, you know, this kid is so focused. I'm proud of him. My daughter Sophia is a freshman at American University. She just made the dean's list.
Congratulations. Look at that smile.
Oh, look at that smile. She's also a global scholar, one of 25 kids selected to be a part of the international relations program. She gets her master's in 6 years, actually 4 for her, because she carried so many credits into school, high school, college, that she's only like a junior freshman year.
Wow.
You know, these kids are phenomenal. So my family, we're not a perfect family. We have flaws like everybody else, but my children are definitely making some wise and good choices. I give my wife a lot of credit for that, because she works with them. She's a diligent mom. You know, she really wants to direct and guide them. And so in our household, again, we're not perfect. Sometimes when you have these stories, people think you're just this little perfect family. No, you spend a day with us, you find like we're human like everybody else. We got our flaws. Right? But there's another side to this. I think that anyone that's pursuing any dream needs to know. Just as far as your family, cousins, aunts, uncles, and all of that. Whenever you're pursuing a dream, you're gonna have one of 2 things happen. One, you're gonna have people they're gonna root you on. They're gonna be family that is so proud of you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They saw you raised from this little child to where you are today. You're doing things, you're writing books, and like, oh my God, that's my cousin, that's my brother, that's my sister. I love them. But then you got other family members, and them folks are the ones envious. They're gonna be jealous. They're gonna be divisive. They're gonna say negative things about you because you're not what you used to be. And I think that's important because people have a tendency sometimes to put you in a box, and they think you should stay in that box forever. But as you grow, that box expand, you blow out that box and you start doing other things with your life. And I just want to say this to anybody out there pursuing any dreams: don't allow anyone's negative perception of you to dictate what you're going to do. Do it anyway. We talked about that a little bit earlier, because you said it earlier, Omar, you kind of led into it, you know, about the family piece. You know, nobody can drag you down quicker than they can if you allow them to. But the reality of it is, if you got that dream inside of you to write a book, if you got that dream inside of you to start a business, and there's a segment of the family that don't understand, run with the segment that does. and say to them, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I didn't do anything to deserve that. I'm just pursuing my dreams. I'm sorry you can't embrace it. So this is not a put down of families. I just know a lot of people who have pursued dreams and have been ostracized. Literally ostracized and pursued. I'm sure, Mark, you know what I'm talking about, man.
Sometimes where you find yourself alone too, that you're not always going to you're not always have the crowd around you. There will be times where you will be alone and you'll be searching for people and they won't be there. The support is there. They'll tell you, we love you, we're proud, but you will find those moments where you are alone and it gets real. It definitely gets real.
It gets real, you know. Yeah. Mark, you've had any of those experiences, man? I'm sure you may have seen some of that.
Well, yeah, you know, I'm gonna tell you, there was one experience that I've noticed that you know, God has always favored and blessed me, and I give Him all the glory and honor for that, and I believe that is because, for one, I'm a giver. When you're a giver, God gives to you. Yep. There was a time where I thought, you know, when I came out the military, I said, you know, people would always ask me for this and ask me for that, and, you know, and I would give. And I said, you know, I wonder how many people would be around if I let me just, you know, if I had enough money. Yeah. If I just lived homeless for 1 year, I wonder how many people would be around. You know, how many people would stick around and be in my corner. See, and I say that to say, you know, people will be around you when you're helping them, when you're doing something for them. You know, I just give God the glory and honor for where He has me today. I mean, we talk about, you know, where we've been, where we came from. I was, you know, my father and mother divorced when I was 12 years old. Didn't see my father until I came out the military at 25 years old. And, you know, he was in another state, California. I grew up in Indiana. So from 12 to 25, I didn't see him. I think was one of those people that they were labeled. You were labeled not to succeed. You were labeled. It was already destined for you not to succeed. God has, you know, mother, you know, we came up on welfare. You know, my mother says, you know, her name, she called herself the queen of welfare. So, and what God has done in my life, you know, and we talk about, you know, the sister talked about not having a degree. You know, I'm close to a six figure, you know, salary right now. You know, and I went from, you know, making $6.75 an hour working security to $26 in one day. You know, from one day making $6, the next day making 26. You know, so God has brought me, and now making even more than that. God has brought me, you know, and that's why that book I wrote, you know, God put this book, What's Stopping You? Yep. I just want, you know, people to be motivated to follow their dreams. Don't let nothing stop you. Don't let nothing hold you back. You know, if I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know, I want to ask you three, did anybody, because we're coming up close to closing time, but I want to ask, did any of you self-publish your book or do you have a publisher? Start with Freda.
I'm self-published, all of my books, and I've published three other people. Three other people I've published.
Oh, okay, great.
I've self-published 7 books of my own, and I've published 3 other people. Yes, and I'm in the process of working on a few other projects for other people.
Great. Mark?
No, I went through a company, Author House.
All right. Coach D?
Yeah, I had two companies take two of my books and tried to publish them. After they ripped them things up, I said, that's all right, I'll self-publish.
Oh, no.
By the time they got done with them books, I'm like, oh, who book is this? I didn't write this. And because I'm big on sharing what God places in my heart. You know what I mean? I'm not going to yank this and yank that. So I've always self-published, because it's not that I didn't have access to a publishing house. It's just that they just, they wanted to, they wanted to dictate what I had in there. Now, maybe it was a mistake. I could have said, well, maybe do it, and who knows what that could have produced. But my books have all done well, because I have a platform. I'm standing in front of a lot of folks and I get interviewed a lot. And so, I've done well as self-published, and I'm not against publishing, but I think there should be give and take in publishing. It shouldn't be just they want it this way and you have no say. If you want to use our publishing service, you're going to do exactly what we told you. I said, no, I'm not publishing house led. I'm God led. And there's some things God has me to say.
Yes.
Right.
Not in my book. I'm sorry.
That's how I feel.
Yeah. So I have several books as well. And like I said, I'm writing this next one. And, they're all self-published and they all reach a lot of people. Yeah.
Now, is there a way we can get a name of, all y'all's books?
Mm-hmm.
I like to purchase them.
Yeah.
Yes.
If
Omar,
they can go through me, and I'll give you the message. I'll send a message to you. Everybody, they can you can get it through me, Coach D and Camille, and you guys all can say what your books wrote, and I'll share with all of you guys. We're gonna have we'll get each one of you an opportunity to close out 2 minutes. And Freda, I'm gonna give you actually 30 seconds because I want you to talk about how you overcame writer's block, because that seemed to be one of the biggest challenges in writing. So let's go off. Ladies first.
Ladies first. I feel like major cause of my writer's block was depression. A lot of that was, I went through a lot of different things. So earlier in life, we talk about dealing with the molestation and the sexual abuse, and then thinking about overcoming being a teenage mom. And I was going through divorce. I lost my mother at 23. I lost my father at 30. And then just trying to juggle life, raising my daughter. I also had children within my marriage that weren't my children, but I raised them as my children. And then separating from the marriage, it was a lot of like having to walk away from family. So it was like a lot of that abandonment issues and all of that kind of stuff. So I think a lot of me dealing with writer's block had to do a lot more with depression. And once I got through that, it was, I would write again. I always was journaling. Like journaling was something that I always did at any given moment, because I would wake up in the middle of the night. God always had a word that he would give me. And so, or if I'm driving, I was always like, get to a place of destination and will always write. But it was a matter of like gathering all my information together, getting my material together, and actually publishing it. So I had one manuscript that I had that just sat for like a couple of years. So it was just a matter of me getting out of my own way and doing what I know that I needed to do, that God has caused me to do. But for other people, what I also would suggest is taking time out to schedule time in your schedule, and actually just saying, if you needed to take an hour a day or an hour, 2 days a week, and just dedicate that time just to write. Because then that way you're committing yourself to doing that thing that you know that you're supposed to do. And you'll commit yourself to it, and you'll have the time in your schedule to sit down and just write, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, more closing comments, 2 minutes.
Again, I think mine is just, for anybody out there, you're trying to accomplish something, don't let anything stop you. Move into your destiny. Take one step at a time. Continue to move forward. You will succeed. You will come out. Go through those, a lot of people don't want to go through those dark, blind areas where you can't see in front of you. Go through them. You know, they're not as bad as we think, and we will when you overcome, you know, you definitely will prosper out of it.
Okay, Coach D.
Yeah, I just want to make sure again, both of y'all want to get copies of your books as well. So Omar, I look forward to getting that information because I want to get copies of their books as well, man. But you know, I gotta do a little motivational thing, man, because that's just who I am. But I just want people out there to know a quote that I love dearly, and that is, "Don't go where the path may lead. Instead, go where there is no path and leave a trail."
Mm-hmm.
Think about that quote right there. Whenever you pursue a dream and you break through, you just carve the pathway for somebody else. You know what I mean? Be it your children, be it your family members, be it somebody in your community, because now you can show them the way. So I just would encourage people, don't sit on your dreams, pursue them. You know, go after it, not just for yourself. Everything I do, they know me because of my name, but they don't realize what I do is not for me, it's for others. It's for my children. It's for my younger family members who, you know, I'm connected with. It's all the thousands of youth we had a chance to interact with. It's even for the customers that we serve. You know what I mean? That we're able to go in and impact these organizations and businesses in a beautiful and magnificent way. I'll say this. One of the fastest growing ways of segments of our business is in the area of equity motivation. We have a framework that we created called the Equity 3M framework. And to go into these organizations and talk about diversity, inclusion, and you got people talking to each other, man, and like interacting with each other from all these races. I mean, it's just the most amazing thing. No arguing, no fighting, communicating. Boy, that's more ministry than anything I've ever done before. I mean, it's a beautiful thing to see it. So it's just a blessing to be able to use your gifts, talents, and abilities in this way. But society and humanity will never get a chance to benefit from them if you don't do anything with them. So I tell people to go out there and make it happen. And we're waiting to see the success stories emerge here in Delaware and beyond. There's a lot of other authors out there and writers, speakers, and trainers, and all the other, you know, business owners, whatever the business may be. Go for it, and don't let people stop you. And you know, and Omar, I just want to say to you, man, thank you for being a long-standing community leader, man. You've just been doing these shows and programs, man.
Yes,
over you, brother.
absolutely.
Seriously, man. I pray blessings over you, man. You know,
thank you. Appreciate it.
Seriously, man, because you've just sown so much seed, brother. And we just want to see God's best for you as well, man. So thank you for the opportunity to share this and let our light shine a little bit here on you know, on a Thursday night here in
all right, thank you. Okay, so before we close out, everybody can say if people are watching right now, they want to buy your books. What's the website? Where can they find your books? Start off with Mark.
Well, yeah, you can go to I'll say Amazon. Just go to Amazon and type in "What's Stopping You," or go to Google, put in "What's Stopping You," Mak Hopkins, and it'll bring up 3 different places. You can get it from Barnes and Noble, you can get it from Author House, you can get it from Amazon, or either just go into Amazon and type in "What's Stopping You," Mak Hopkins, and it'll come up with the book.
Okay, Coach D.
Yeah, I just again want to remind people here in Delaware, we're doing those parent events. So make sure you go to Darrell Coach D Andrews, my Facebook page, to learn more about those events that we're hosting for the next 5 months. This is every month we're going to be doing that. So please take a look at that and join us. But as far as our books, you know, you can go to my website, CoachDSpeaks.com, CoachDSpeaks.com, or as Mark had mentioned, all of my books are on Amazon. If you go to Amazon, put Darrell Coach D Andrews, all the books will appear. And like I said, we have several books that we've authored that have done quite well. So,
all right, Freda.
Okay, I'm on all of the social media pages as author Freda Camille. And then for my books, you can definitely reach me on Amazon.com as Freda Camille, as well as Barnes and Noble. And my website is FredaCamille.com. I appreciate you, Omar.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you all for being a guest tonight. This is an awesome program. Support one another. Happy Black History Month, and you guys, I'll probably be inviting you again sometime in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Okay. And for those watching, please like, subscribe, and share. All right, take care, everyone.
Take care,
Thank you. Good night.